نحن في طريقنا إلى الأخت مين شارلا مسابح. يا هي أنا لسه بدري فشوية نتنح. لا وعشان ماني داري الساعة كم إحنا؟
عندي ساعة لأنه بدي أقول لك.
أيوه أخيراً اشتريتي ساعة؟
أيوه أخيراً.
الحمد مبروك.
8:03
عشان كذا متأخرين شوي.
فعلى كل حال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم لما قال يا معشر النساء تصدقنا وأكثرنا الاستغفار، يعني صدقة ولازم هي تكثر الاستغفار. فقال فرأيت أكثر أهل النار النساء. هذا حديث صحيح ثابت، وأنا إن شاء الله أقول فرأيت أكثر أهل النار النساء. فقال وما رأيت ناقصات عقل ودين أغلب منكن لذي لب. حديث عجيب جدا. هذا حديث يسيء الفهم عندي أنا، يسيء الفهم تماما. أولا قال رأيت أكثر أهل النار النساء. في رواية أخرى اطلعت على أهل النار فوجدت أكثر أهلها النساء. هذا حديث صحيح. صحابة قال أيكفرن بالله يا رسول الله؟ قال لا، يكفرن العشير. أولا العلماء قالوا في هذا يدل على أنه رأى عصاة المؤمنين في النار. هذا ليس النار الكفار، هذا النار المؤمنين. قال هذه مرحلة فقط، ثم قال رأيت اطلعت على النار فوجدت أكثر أهلها النساء. إذن حينما رآها هذه حال روحانية. هذا أول شيء. ثاني شيء النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم في حديث آخر يرويه إمام السخاوي رأيت أكثر أهل الجنة النساء. وهذا حديث وإن لم يكن صحيحا، الحديث الذي في البخاري يقول أن لكل مؤمن زوجان من مؤمنات الدنيا في الجنة. إذن قال العلماء عدد النساء في الجنة أضعاف عدد الرجال. How are you doing?
Fine, thanks. It's nice to meet you.
Okay, great.
It's a pleasure.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم، والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. الحمد لله نتشرف بمقابلة شارلا مسبحي. And you're originally from the United States, right? From which state?
I'm from Seattle.
Seattle, okay.
West Coast.
I'm from Washington as well.
Bainbridge Island.
I'm from Walla Walla.
Walla Walla.
Yeah.
I'm from Bainbridge.
I was born in Walla Walla. So, and you became Muslim many, many years ago. Married somebody from the United Arab Emirates. Mm-hmm. And you've been living here for how long?
22 years.
22 years. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that, we're looking at a lot of different aspects of gender relations, women's conditions in the Muslim world in particular, and how that relates just to our religion and the cultures that we're living in. One of the major problems that it's a global problem. It's certainly not a problem only within Islam, but a major problem is domestic violence. But we're here really to highlight some of the work that you've been doing, and so if you could just tell us what you're actually doing here.
2001, we established our first shelter and started taking cases in from the police. Developed a relationship with the police, developed a relationship with the Human Rights Department and immigration, and let them know that we're there if they need them. And they started sending us cases of domestic violence, religious persecution, any case of a woman that has no place to go. So that's basically, and now today we have three shelters.
In Islam there are certain responsibilities that men have and certain responsibilities women have in a house. So for instance, a lot of men are totally unaware of the fact that what they call domestic service, al-khidma al-batina, in the house, the majority of fuqaha don't consider it a woman's obligation in a house. A woman, in Maliki fiqh, which is what I studied, a woman doesn't have to cook, she doesn't have to clean the house. It's actually not an obligation. If she does it out of love because she wants to, you know, be contributing to the household or whatever. So, you know, in verse 34, when it says, according to Tahir ibn Ashur, who was one of the great mufassirin of the 20th century, or the 15th century or the 14th century Hijrah. He was a Tunisian scholar, but he said that the verse was actually revealed to eliminate domestic violence, which is, this is the irony of the verse. Because
which verse was it?
Verse 34, which says, you know, عِظُوهُنَّ وَهْجُرُوهُنَّ فِي الْمَضَاجِعِ وَاضْرِبُوهُنَّ. You know, he said in usul, generally, the wow in Arabic does not, what the usuliyun say is it doesn't benefit tartib, an order. But in this verse, the majority of commentators say it does, that you cannot go to striking a woman. You have to first exhort them. And then the next stage, and they usually say for a month, and then the next stage is to not sleep with them for a month, and then finally, as a last resort, that permissibility. But what Tahir ibn Ashur says is that hitting never comes from deliberation. People strike out of anger. Mm-hmm. And he said, so if that order was followed,
there you go.
It would train and discipline the man to deal with problems at a deeper level.
You've got your anger management.
It's anger management.
It's anger management.
That's anger management. That's what he said. See, he said it is anger management. And I personally believe that the Prophet ﷺ was teaching anger management. Well, the reason that the verse came down is because a woman had been struck by her husband, and she went and she complained to the Prophet ﷺ, and he wanted her to get qisas, which is retaliation. So he was on the way to her house to allow her to hit her husband back. Yeah. But he was the Prophet's nature was very egalitarian, and he thought she was hit, she has the right to strike back. And on the way to the house, that verse was revealed. Tahir ibn Ashur says part of the reason is because it just would have been too much for the Arabs. You know, because they're a very virile and proud people. The men, you know, take their manhood very seriously, and it would just be too much, the humiliation of it.
Too much for her to hit him? Or
yeah, it would just, they wouldn't, you know. I mean, the Prophet ﷺ was already having difficulties teaching them other things. To be humble.
How do you protect these women from their husbands or brothers or whatever that are abusing them? What happens if those people come to the shelter and want their women?
Well, first of all, if they come to the shelter, I move them to a secret location. I mean, they're not going to force me to give them anybody. I'm not going to do it.
What about like the laws here? Are they backed up with that?
No, because the cases that come to me come from the police and immigration, and they recognize that what's a shame is that the stage it has to reach before they actually call. This woman maybe has been sent home 5 or 6, 7 times already, and I think that one time beating should be enough for them to see that she's in danger. One time slamming a woman's head against the wall or backhanding her across the face or leaving bruises. One time should be enough to convince anybody that there needs to be a separation there until they
get some
treatment.
Do the men get treatment as well?
Well,
you have to, and also, I mean, there is a qisas. I mean,
this is what I'm trying for.
If you harm a woman or anybody, you know, if you break a bone, there is retaliation, and a woman has that right. In Sharia, one of the gravest sins is haraba, which is people that threaten with weapons other people, whether they're Muslim or not Muslim. To threaten another person with a weapon is one of the gravest sins and crimes in Islam.
There are so many women that are living in fear, just continuous fear. And the children are also being raised seeing these threats and fear all the time.
No, I know, it's horrible.
It's just horrific. And then what we have is we have a woman who is afraid and being threatened and being beaten, going to the police. And then the police, and this is not only here, this is in many countries, the police are not trained to know how to deal with domestic violence.
Yeah.
So immediately they put the woman in more danger by what they do is they pick up the telephone and they, Yahi.
Oh, they call the husband.
Yes.
You know, look, if we take this to a deeper level, all right, we can stay here on the surface, but if we want to take it to a deeper level, part of the situation is that men's sovereignty has been removed in the world. People are oppressed.
Yeah.
People feel it. Somebody that goes to work feels the oppression from his boss. Somebody that goes to get his driver's license renewed and the guy that's renewing it wants something before he'll give him his right. It's a right. Yes. And instead of doing that, he's oppressed. So he's going out, and he might be doing it himself. Then he goes home and he's in this whole world, right? كيف ما تكون يولى عليكم. I mean, how you are, so are the people put over you. So he goes home, and then he's in this frustrated situation where the last bastion of his sovereignty now is threatened, right? It's just so, you know, it's really overwhelming that anybody could question the need for these things in our societies. And I understand the idea of, you know, veiling, allowing situation for tawbah, but we're not dealing with, you know, light things.
No.
These are things that
Life or death.
people die.
Yeah.
You know,
Life,
people are emotionally damaged for their lives. Children are emotionally damaged for their lives. And in a sound hadith, he said, "La tadribu ima Allah." Do not strike the maidservants of God. You know, don't strike women. Some of the ulama said that hadith was abrogated by the others, but you know, others said no. It means that prohibition is nahy al-karahiyya, that he was saying it was makruh to strike a woman. But again, that strike was clarified in the hadith, which is considered mutawatir. It has the same weight of the Quran. And he said, "Astawsu bin nisa'i khayra." If you look at the khutbat al-wada', when the Prophet gave his farewell address, to me it's one of the most extraordinary statements in human history, because he clarified in that farewell address the major problems on the planet. I mean, really. The first one was racism. Racism. Big one. Yeah. It's right there at the top until now. He said there's no preference of a black over a white or a white over black or an Arab over a non-Arab or a non-Arab over an Arab, except in their awareness of God. That's it. There's your criterion. And then the next, economic injustice. He said usury is prohibited from this day forward, and the first usury is the usury of Al-Abbas, his own uncle. You know, ibda bi nafsika fanha an ghayyiha. And then the next thing he said your women have rights. Astawsu bin nisa'i khayra. Take my wasiyah. That's what it means in Arabic. Astawsu bin nisa'i khayra. Khudh anni hadi wasiyah. Take this advice. He said, your women have rights, and you have rights. You know, this is a mutual condition. And then he said they have a right to be to live in with their food and their clothes and their security. And he said, Hunna awanan indukum. He used an amazing word. He said the aniya is somebody that has a difficult time. He said they are awanan indukum. You know, they have a struggle being in this compromised situation. And if you're not aware of that struggle, you know, there's so many of the hadiths to me that what's rooted in them, you know, we tend to look at them in a completely opposite way of what they were intended. I'll give you one example. The Prophet ﷺ said, you know, he said women are, he said they're created from a rib, you know, a curved rib. And he said, وَإِنَّ أَعْوَجَ مَا فِي الضِّلَعِ أَعْلَاهُ. And the thing, the most curved thing in the rib is the highest part. And he said, so live with them with that curve. You know, in other words, they have a nature that is distinct from your nature. It's not like your nature. So be tolerant with them. Don't try to change their nature. Don't try to mold them into what you want.
You know, the thing,
you know, just live with them. It's an amazing hadith because it's really saying, this is the way God created them. Don't accept it. Yeah, don't try to change the woman's nature in order to suit your desire of what she should be. Yeah, live with the curve.
My mother.
Don't break it, because he said if you try to mold it into what you want, if you want to mold your wife, to control your wife, and that's why it's such a powerful hadith, and it's interpreted exactly the opposite. You know, it's interesting, the Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu was once at the Kaaba, and he heard a woman making tawaf recite some lines, and in the line she said that some get sweet breath like sweet water, and those will always be happy, and then others get breath like a foul stench of a pond, and if it wasn't for fear of God, they would flee. And he understood what her complaint, and he asked where her husband was, and she showed him, and then he said that he wanted him to grant her a divorce, and Omar said that he would pay for it, and it was because she just couldn't take his foul breath.
Oh.
And what she was saying was, if it wasn't for fear of God, I would have fled my house. So I mean, what about domestic violence?
What about domestic violence?
You know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, one of the most powerful verses about this, there are two in the Quran. The first is, قَدْ سَمِعَ اللَّهُ قَوْلَ الَّتِي تُجَادِلُكَ فِي زَوْجِهَا وَتَشْتَكِي إِلَى اللَّهِ وَاللَّهُ يَسْمَعُ تَحَاوُرَكُمَا. That God has heard the woman who has come to argue with you about her husband and complained to God, and God heard that conversation. And what happened was, this woman came to the Prophet ﷺ and complained about vihar, which was something the Arabs used to do. They would say to the wife, "Anti ka dhahri ummi," you know, you're like the back of my mother. In other words, I won't have any relations with you. And they would leave them suspended in this state. And she went to the Prophet and she said, "Ya Rasulullah, afna shababi, he took my youth from me, and impregnated me and wasted my womb, and now he just throws me away, discards me like this." And the Prophet ﷺ said, "Be patient, and just go home and be patient." And because he again, the Prophet had concerns about the society and problems, and because that was his culture, and he wanted to protect what they call the urf of people. But Allah revealed that and said, she said, if the Prophet's not going to help me, I'm going to write to the direct source. And so she complained to God. And so Allah revealed that verse to the Prophet, saying he heard her complaint, and her complaint was not fulfilled. And she was, it's just,
there you go.
You know, it's an incredible verse. And that was a woman who Umar ibn al-Khattab, after when he became Khalifa once, an old woman came to him and called him over, and he was in something very important. He immediately went over. When he came back, one of his companions said to him, "You know, you run to a woman like that?" You know, in other words, like, And he said, that's a woman that God heard from 7 heavens.
There you go. There you go.
In other words, I don't want to mess with her. So, and the other verse, which is really amazing, is the verse of Asiya, the wife of Pharaoh, because she's really the domestic victim in the Quran. That she complained, build me a house in paradise. In other words, this worldly house is a disaster. So build me a house in paradise and save me, wanadini, save me from Pharaoh. And this is, to me, somebody who is doing this is a Pharaoh Bayti. He's a pharaoh in his house. What he's saying is, Ana rabbukum al-a'la. I can do whatever I want, because that's what ultimately.
How many pharaohs do we have in the police? How many pharaohs do we have in the court? How many pharaohs do we have in the home? How many people are out there that are just qadi, judges? When this woman comes in and into the police or into the court or into your presence and says, I need help, and the response she gets is,
if a woman was really interested to do what you're doing here, is there a way that they can contact you, or how do they get to you, and how do you help them?
How can they start?
Yeah, how can they start?
They can contact me, City of Hope 18 @gmail.com.
Okay, and you will help them start up whatever it is needed there. You've done it before, you said, right? Or you're starting to do it with another country.
I try to inspire it to be done. I talk to a lot of women around the world, different people who are doing things in Pakistan, Syria, Yemen, Saudi.
Inshallah, I want to thank you for taking the time to let us know what you're doing, and
God bless you.
And we hope that Allah give you tawfiq in what you're doing, and also just that people support the work, and the work needs to spread as well, not just here but in many, many places in the Muslim world, with the best of our Islamic understanding and ideals, inshallah.
God bless. Thank you. Jazakumullah khair. Thank you.
Sorry, hi. I was just wondering if
quite
it's
a
that you.
cigar.
Yeah, I just wanted to express my admiration to your thoughts, and lots of Lebanese youth are really in favor of how you preach about Islam and
mashallah.
about the
Are you
modern-
from Lebanon?
I'm Lebanese, yeah.
Yeah.
Lebanese from an extremist sect, but from an open mind and believe in your beliefs.
Okay.
And I'm really thankful that there's people like you around the world.
Oh, well, thank you.
Thank you
Nice
so
to
much,
meet
and
you.
all the
Yeah,
best.
I appreciate
Have
that.
a nice day.
Ma'as salam.